Hey guys, I'm Fill in the Blanks, and welcome to another NPC. I know I promised last week that we would talk about kind of what my pitch on a Metroid game would be, but something kind of happened this past week, and that is the Super Nintendo Classic, the Super Nintendo Mini, whatever it's going to be called, was officially announced by Nintendo. It is another miniature plug-and-play console similar to the NES Mini of last year. It'll have 21 video games, one of which being the completely unreleased Star Fox 2, so that's pretty interesting. It is being released in America and in Canada, and I believe other regions as well. September, I think, 29th or 27th, something like that. Late September, at $80 American, $100 Canadian, which is a really good price considering that's still, like, for Canadians, that's $5 per game. And as a collector, I know that some of these games go for a fairly high price. So what I thought I'd do is let's talk about all 21 games that will be on the Super Nintendo Classic, and just to see if whether or not they deserve to be there. I'm going to go in the order that this cute little poster is going. I just like this poster. I think it's cute. So let's go in this order. Super Mario World is the biggest no-brainer. If you thought there'd be a Super Nintendo Classic and it wouldn't have Super Mario World, you're friggin' crazy. The launch title for the Super Nintendo has 96 exits and like 70 levels. It's crazy huge. I mean, you see me play it. It's just awesome. Introduces Yoshi, so much to it. Yeah, absolutely should be in there. Super Mario Kart, the best racing game on the Super Nintendo by far, and the birth of one of the most popular and successful franchises in video game history. Mario Kart is fantastic. It hasn't aged super well. It's got really tight controls that some people aren't used to, but hey man, it deserves to be in there. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, another obvious no-brainer. In my opinion, the best 2D Zelda game, and it's definitely one of the best Super Nintendo games, at least in my top 5, I'd say. It absolutely should be in the Super Nintendo Classic. Bring it on. F-Zero, the first racing game for the Super Nintendo, and pretty much the tech demo of Mode 7 for the Super NES. It hasn't aged thoroughly well. I'd still say it's better than the Game Boy Advance F-Zero games, but it's definitely not one of the best F-Zero games. Still, it's super fun. It's kind of interesting to see the game after all these years. It still plays fairly well. It's just kind of ugly. It only has 4 characters. It's not a huge game, but I still think it deserves to be on here just because this is the birth of Captain Falcon from Smash Brothers. Like, yeah, absolutely get F-Zero in there. Super Metroid, the other super obvious one. I think Super Mario World, Zelda, and Super Metroid are the 3 that it wouldn't make sense for it not to be on there. The rest of the games on here, you know, it wouldn't be the most horrifying thing if they didn't make the list, but these 3, it just makes the most sense. Super Metroid is one of the most badass action games out there. It's super amazing. Really cemented Metroid as a fantastic franchise, which is weird considering it was dead for, you know, nearly 10 years after Super Metroid came out. But yeah, Super Metroid absolutely deserves to be there. Star Fox 2. Star Fox 2 was never released. It was completed as far as I know, and there is a beta ROM out there. I think most people have played it, at least that most people out there that like, you know, history of Super Nintendo and whatnot have tried it at least. A lot of the things from Star Fox 2 actually appeared in later Star Fox games, most notably in Star Fox 0 with like the little chicken walker thing. Star Fox 2 is an interesting game, and it's almost like a little, not open world, but you go on this little map and you can go to the surface of the planet. It's really interesting. Introduces 2 new characters that have never been seen officially, which is super cool. The fact that we're even getting this as a full release is incredible, and shows that sometimes Nintendo really listens to fans, or, you know, just things of really cool things to surprise us with. Maybe we can get Mother 3 soon. I don't know, maybe. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. This is a weird one. Street Fighter 2 Turbo is a fantastic game, sure, but why not Super Street Fighter 2? I mean, it's Street Fighter 2 Turbo is just Street Fighter with 4 extra characters, and then Super Street Fighter 2 is just Street Fighter 2 Turbo with 4 extra characters as well. If you're going to put a fighting game on the Super Nintendo Classic, put the best one, and that would have been Super Street Fighter 2. But at the same time, I understand why they didn't do this. I mean, this thing is going to cost $100 Canadian, and it has Street Fighter 2 Turbo, while Ultra Street Fighter 2, which isn't super great and is pretty much just Street Fighter or Super Street Fighter 2, was released on the Switch at a full $50. So if they released Super Street Fighter 2, it would have just made Ultra Street Fighter 2 look like a waste of money. Super Punch-Out! I love me some Punch-Out, and Super Punch-Out is an incredible game. This will give me a good excuse to play it again, even though I Let's Played it about a year or 2 ago. It's absolutely fantastic, and if Punch-Out is going to be on the NES Classic, then Super Punch-Out definitely should be in the SNES Classic. Super Castlevania Castlevania 4. Now, there's two Castlevania games for the Super Nintendo. There's Castlevania 4 and there's Castlevania Dracula X. And most people have never even heard of Dracula X. It's like a kind of weird remake/port of Rondo of Blood, which I think was originally on the TurboGrafx 16, or the Japanese version of that. I don't really know. I'm not a giant Castlevania guy. But I think Super Castlevania 4 being on the SNES Classic actually makes more sense. It's the better game in my opinion. Dracula X is fine, and it really does push the Super Nintendo. It's beautiful with great music, but it's not a super great game. It's way too difficult for not really good reasons, and Castlevania 4 is just a nice, it's a retelling of the first Castlevania. It's great, and I really think it deserves a spot on there over Dracula X. Donkey Kong Country. With the 3 Donkey Kong Country games on the Super Nintendo, I actually don't think Donkey Kong Country 1 should have been there. Personally, I think 3 should be on there. 3 is my favorite. I think 3 is the best one. Probably the most technically beautiful game on the system, with every level being something completely different. I even would say Donkey Kong Country 2 deserves to be on there more than Donkey Kong Country 1, but I get that Country 1 is more iconic. It actually has Donkey Kong, which Country 2 and 3 don't have, and it's still fantastic, don't get me wrong. It's got an amazing soundtrack, beautiful graphics, incredible levels, it's super, super fun. Maybe if there's a Super Nintendo Classic 2, then we'll have 2 and 3 on there, but Donkey Kong Country 1, yeah, it's great. Mega Man X. Now, on the NES Classic, they had Mega Man 2 because that is, most people would agree, the best Mega Man game on the system. But Mega Man X, I actually don't think is the best Mega Man X game on the system. They could have gone with Mega Man 7, but I'm actually glad they didn't, because Mega Man 7 is not as good as any of the Mega Man X games on the Super Nintendo. But I actually would have gone with Mega Man X 2. Mega Man X2 is a perfect Mega Man X game. There's a better story, there's better villains, the areas have better secrets. Getting all of Zero's parts in a full 100% ending is so much more satisfying. X3 is good, it's really good, but I think X1 is better than X3, and X2 is better than X1. Still, X is awesome, but having X2 and X3 on there, as a collector, would really raise the value of this, because X2 and X3 are extraordinarily expensive games on the Super Nintendo, so having them instead of X1 would have just been cool in terms of look how much money you're saving, guys. But still, X1, still fantastic, yeah, bring it on. Kirby Superstar. This is my personal no-brainer. I know not everyone would agree with this, but I think Kirby Superstar is one of those that I don't think a Super Nintendo Classic should be without. Kirby Superstar is one of the best Kirby games and an amazing co-op experience that you won't find on many other consoles. It's absolutely fantastic. It was my second Let's Play. It means a lot to me. This game is just incredible. And it's got 8 games in one, even though it kind of really doesn't, but absolutely great game with amazing amount of powers, different levels, stories, great music. Jeez, yeah, Kirby Superstar absolutely belongs on there much more than Kirby's Dream Land 3 does. Final Fantasy 3/Final Fantasy 6. There were 2 Final Fantasy games released in North America for the Super Nintendo. 3 if you count Mystic Quest. Let's not count Mystic Quest. Mystic Quest is fine, but it's not on the same tier as 2 and 3 were. I'm just going to call them 2 and 3 just for the sake of this, because we're going for the classic Super Nintendo names. Final Fantasy 2 is actually my favorite Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy 3 is probably the better game and absolutely deserves to be on the Super NES Classic. It pushes the Super Nintendo and is by far one of the best, not just RPGs, but best games on the system. Kirby's Dream Course is the one game on this list that I think probably doesn't deserve a space on here. Now, that's tough, I know. I love Kirby's Dream Course. It's actually a great game, and I adore it. I don't quite think it matches up to the quality of every other title on this. I personally actually would have taken out Kirby's Dream Course and put in Capcom's Final Fight to have a classic beat-em-up game. The NES Classic got Double Dragon 2. It seems only fair that we get a beat-em-up, and we really don't on this, but whatever. Kirby's Dream Course is still a super fun game, but I still say it's the only game on this entire list that I wouldn't consider a classic. Star Fox. If Star Fox 2 is going to be on there, it makes sense that Star Fox 1 should be on there. And Star Fox is super fun. The 3D graphics were absolutely beautiful. For the time, anyways. It's pretty ugly now. Great music, an amazing amount of challenge with an easy, medium, and difficult route. Super, super great. Birth of a fantastic series that unfortunately hasn't gotten the love that it deserves. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Yes, Yoshi's Island is an incredible game and beautiful. And look at that art direction, and God, it's just wonderful. One of the very few games on the entire library of Super Nintendo games that uses the Super FX2 chip, the other one being, I think, Doom and Star Fox 2 as well. It's filled with incredible levels, great music, filled with secrets. It's just smooth gameplay, and this absolutely belongs on here, and it's about time it got re-released, because I don't think the original Super Nintendo version was ever released on Virtual Console. Not 100% sure, don't got my Wii or Wii U next to me, but whatever, yeah, bring on Yoshi's Island. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. This game is incredible and one of my absolute favorite RPGs. It's wonderful, magical, charming, introduces some great characters, one of the best soundtracks in video games, period. The fact that this game is on here is incredible, because I didn't expect that. I thought Chrono Trigger would have made the list before Mario RPG, but hey, we got this instead of Chrono Trigger. Some people are salty about that. I don't really blame them. Chrono Trigger is incredible too, but I actually would have gone with Super Mario RPG as well. Yeah, I can't wait to find an excuse to play this one again. Contra 3: The Alien Wars. One of the best run-and-gun games on the Super Nintendo, and actually the only Contra game on the Super Nintendo, which is really weird. Contra 3 is super fast-paced, super difficult, great co-op play. Man, it's just really fast, has interesting levels, gigantic bosses, and it's gonna make you hate your friend who just keeps dying at these really easy parts. You're like, come on, man, get better than that. The second of the 3 super difficult games on this list, and I'm glad it's there. Welcome, Contra 3. Secret of Mana. I didn't expect this one at all. Secret of Mana is a great game and just fantastic on the Super Nintendo, but I didn't expect it. I actually would have expected Secret of Evermore more so, just because it was an American exclusive. But Secret of Mana is just great. Now, my only problem with this is, will we be able to get the 3-player functionality working? Because that's what Secret of Mana is all about. 3 players all at once. But even if that's not there, 2-player RPGs are so rare, so to have one on here is great. Man, someone should come over and play Secret of Mana with me just for fun. Ah, Secret's so good. Earthbound. Again, kind of a no-brainer. If I was to pick a single RPG, I would have put on Earthbound. Well, I actually would have put on Mario RPG, but Earthbound makes sense. After years and years and years of people asking for it, it finally came on the Virtual Console, and now here's another way of being able to play it. So that's just great. Lastly, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, the sequel to Ghosts and Goblins for the NES. And that is the third of the 3 extremely hard games for the SNES Classic, and this is probably the hardest one of them all. It's the only game on this entire list that I have not beaten. So there you go. That to me, that says something. And mind you, I haven't played it in like 15, 16 years, and maybe I'd be able to beat it now. I have no idea, because it's extraordinarily difficult. That doesn't mean it's not fun. It is super fun, and I can imagine with save states and stuff, this being a little bit easier for people to digest. But yeah, it absolutely deserves to be there. Capcom at its prime. Just great stuff. And those are the 21 games for the SNES Classic. I really think they did a good job of picking them. I mean, there's only one that I would actually, like, really change. The rest are just kind of picks that I'd rather have in that trilogy, like Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3, other than Donkey Kong Country 1. But I mean, none of these games are bad for the system. So bravo, Nintendo. Let's just hope you can keep these in stock. And I know it's only going from September to, like, Christmas, but if you have hundreds of thousands of people still looking for them and you haven't done anything, then come on, guys. It's like, just get your head out of your ass and do it. What do you guys think? Is the SNES Classic Mini going to be good? I mean, yeah, the answer is yes. So I don't know why I'm asking. But is the list any good? What would you rather have on there? Tell me in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Unless something crazy big happens next week, I promise we'll get to that Metroid pitch. Alright, see you guys later.